Welcome. Okay, thanks, David, for joining me for this RHI Spotlight series. Today we're going to look at data and the data that RHI holds and why that's useful and the value that provides to our clients. So I suppose before we get into the value that provides, can you tell me a bit about the data, where what it relates to?
That data relates to construction projects. So in our case, that data will be cost data. So that's pricing up construction activities, and quantity data, which relates to the amount of construction work which is undertaken. So those two elements are key in developing the cost of construction.
So the cost of construction is obviously driven by the quantity of material, depending on what you're building, the amount of pipe, the amount of facility, the modules, etc., and the cost of constructing or fabricating and constructing that.
Yeah, that's right. The cost of obviously component parts, or obviously cost of labor, cost of materials, the cost of having equipment. All that is built into the type of cost data we retain in our system. Key issues around that are issues about productivity. So that sort of is a differentiator often between different contractors in different parts of the world. And that's sort of an efficiency element. So that's part of the information that we retain.
So that's part of the optic. I suppose if we put ourselves in the client's shoes, which is something we strive to do at every moment, really, in terms of how we view things as a client-side project services consultancy, we're always seeing things from the macro client view of, well, what value and what use is this information, and how could it be applied to provide greater insights to clients. So if we take some of that project data that you've just described from major projects across the world in the energy sector that we've been involved in over the past decades, really, can you give us a few examples of maybe recent examples of how we use that to support our clients?
Yeah, that's a good question, David. Well, I've got three examples come immediately to mind. One involves a very large project in Southeast Asia. It involves building some very large assets. And there the client has done some very early technical engineering. The design contractor, which is a very experienced group of designers, has produced a view on quantities and information. And what the client is asking us to do there is to use our database of models and approximate information we have to match that against what the design contractors produced, and produce some quantities how we may think that plays out in terms of once the design becomes complete. So we can do that because we've got a lot of as-built information, so that's stuff that has been completed. And then we've been asked to price that up, so it gives some information, informs their budget effectively. So that's one thing. The second one is a project which is an EPC lump sum project, which a lot of clients prefer that model where the engineer, procurement, construction is all part of one package. It's a lump sum basis. And the client has gone out to a number of contracting consortiums, and they've got a lot of information back. And they're in a position now where they're wanting to evaluate that, compare it, check it against the market. And so they've asked us to provide a lot of detailed information, to do analysis on some of the data they have and provide benchmarks. So that's another way we would use our information. A third one is a very interesting project where there's some unique technical challenges, there's some unique technology. It's only ever been done once before, this type of project. So there's a lot of firsts in there. And what the client is doing is they're in a negotiation position with the consortium that are going to build that. And they just want some reference information. They want some analysis done. They want to know where this is going. Is it value for money? They want an assurance process, which they can show to their management. They can share it with their partners. They want to make sure they're getting the best deal and the most competitive deal that they can in that circumstance.
Okay, so we can use our reference library of data to support with all of those, because I suppose all of this, the theme is it's cost and it's schedule and how the assurance and the third-party independent view that RHI can provide with our experience and the various projects and the data that we hold, can verify and bring some assurance to that process.
Yeah, it's all part of that. It's all part, and of course, these projects are very, very large, very complex. So there's a lot of feed-in from different things. They already have, these companies often have their own internal. They benefit from having an external point of view. We have information which is developed from very, very detailed information and can be adapted for a number of circumstances. It's global, so that in itself is a very useful thing. But also the specialisms and the way we organize our data and information allows us to apply it in a whole variety of ways, which adds value to the client's decision making.
Okay. Now that's been really useful, David. I've found that useful. I hope people watching have found that useful. I think there's like you say, there's lots of ways in which we apply the data to provide insights and data-driven decision making and verification of different points of view. That when the client is making decisions, it's got lots of decision points and lots of information. And I guess what we provide essentially is an independent view with some really reliable, like you say, as-built data to provide that vantage point from. So thanks for that. I think if anyone out there has any questions on the kind of cost or construction data that we hold, or is in a position similar to what we've outlined on the Spotlight series today, we'd love to hear from it. We'd love to hear any comments or any points of view anyone else out there has. So thank you, David. That was useful.
Okay, catch you soon. Catch you for another Spotlight.
Can't wait.